evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the meeting of November the 18th, 2024. The time is now 6:07 p.m. And I'll do the roll call first of the commissioners.
Okay.
Am I okay?
Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Edmondson. Commissioner Khan.
Present.
Commissioner Torres.
Present.
Commissioner Eister.
Present.
Commissioner Phillips, he actually called, he's excused. Commissioner Query.
Present.
And Commissioner Crosby.
Present. And looking for public comments. I don't see anyone in the audience here this evening, so I'm assuming that we don't have any public comments. We want to do the administrative updates.
Oh, approval of minutes.
Okay, all right, and everyone does have a hard copy of the minutes. If we could first have an approval of the minutes.
I move. I'll second.
I'm sorry, I believe I was absent at the last meeting.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
All right, so we have approval from John, second from Jason Query, is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Is it anonymous?
It is.
Alrighty, I'm gonna do the second one first, racism is a public health crisis, the resolution updates. So, we are in a pretty we're in a holding pattern right now. Basically, what has happened is the resolution was crafted in a way by Diana so that, the council council clerk, so that it could be presented in a format that fit their criteria. She did a great job. I think I've sent you all a copy of that, but it was a while ago. All right. Our solicitor, Brett, went through it to find any potential language that could be litigious or lead to litigation. So I'm going to start with that first. The language that she was concerned about, and I want this out here so you know what's going on, is any language that a reader could read this and see the city as admitting to its racism, and then come and sue the city for having been racist in the past. Okay? I understand where she's coming from because it's her job to protect the mayor. But unfortunately, it also whitewashes a lot of what we're trying to do. Thank you. A lot of what we're trying to do with regard to accountability and saying this is where we've been and this is where we would like to go. Okay, so that's number one. The bottom line is that I think that, and I don't mean to speak for our counsel, but I also am aware that if our solicitor is saying this could potentially be litigious, my guess is that the council would say, then let's reword it anyway. However, there's also part two. The mayor has also shared his opinions on it and has also offered a number of edits, which are not because of potential litigation. It's how he reads the document and what he would like to see in it. It has changed a couple of things, so much so that the committee that serves on this, and this is who's on the committee. It's me, Jada Richardson. It is Lisa Kennedy, Marla, who works in the Health Bureau, Monica, who's in the Health Bureau, and Lauren. So we have 3 women of African descent and 3 women of Euro descent. And the consensus was, specifically because the women of African descent get to have the last word on this, and they should, is no, we're not going to go forward on a document that has been whitewashed or that robs us of our intent. We want this to have teeth, and so we're willing to wait. And if that means that we're waiting for the next administration, then we will wait for the next administration. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to go forward on what we're planning to do, which is to start to look at how to craft and implement programming. Part of what this document puts forward is to do a racial justice audit, a racial equity audit within the city. So we will still go about interviewing folks for the future. The other thing that we're planning to do that has come up in light of a number of things that have happened since the election. So we have had somebody post on social media. She works over in the fire department, and she posted that some man in a pickup truck ran over 2 of her friends, same-sex couple, called them names and ran them off the road. We have had a number of texts, as you are well aware, because they are national, texts that have been sent to students around the country, including one young person here in York, that were basically calling them to the plantation to work. And then, of course, we had the most recent with the paddock. And so this all happened in the span of a week, and we are expecting that there will be an uptick as we head into the new year. So one of the first things that our committee has decided to do is create a See Something, Say Something campaign York. This is still in the beginning stages. We are partnering with the NAACP to do this. I talked with Sherry Washington, and she is on board. What we are doing is we are creating a form with a QR code so that people can either anonymously or giving their full information, be able to post stories, video, pictures. We're figuring out all the nuances on how to do that, to be able to say, hey, this is going on here, this is going on there, we're watching this, we're watching that. I've connected with the commissioner to let him know that we are doing this so that we, unfortunately, can use what our 185 allows us to do and start tracking hate speech and hate crimes. And then guess what? Because we have publishing power, guess what we can do? We can start publishing that we are getting some of this information. We don't have to publish names, but we can publish locations and we can publish incidences, so folks are aware. So that is in the works. We are working closely with the Health Bureau to get this going, and so that will also feed into the resolution once it comes out. So we're still very much on track, very much doing the work, but we are not going to rush something through that needs to have more teeth when it comes out. Questions? We are very disappointed. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I do.
Yes.
I thought we had crafted this off of another county that, or city that did this. Is that correct, or?
Multiple. So we did a tremendous amount of research and looked around the country at cities that had already made this statement. And we crafted it so that it touched on both the statistical, but then also the historical component from York. And so it has everything in it that we have found in other places. We tweaked it where it needed to be more specific to York City. You all saw it, and Diana really crafted a beautiful piece for us. So it was ready to go. Yeah, I would just want to make sure. So to answer your question, yes, we did. And did you want to follow up with that?
No, I guess it's frustrating if we crafted it off after other cities and are we to assume that that anything in here that's lined out is the totality of what's been lined out either by the mayor or by their council?
Oh, wait, are you talking 185, or are you talking about race as a public health?
Oh, 185 is not that?
No, I started with racism as public health.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Then.
Yeah. We'll come back to that, though. Sorry, yeah.
I wanted to ask
what were the mayor's objections to? Can you give any specifics of like what it was that he didn't?
I can, and if you'd like, I can send out the draft that has been, that has all the notes on it. I'm just going to give one example.
Okay.
Ibram X. Kendi, do you know who he is? He
Yep,
wrote
yep.
How to Be an Anti-Racist and Stamped from the Beginning, very renowned professor on the notion of anti-racism, coined the term. The mayor does not like the use of the term anti-racism.
Did he explain why?
He did.
He did? Mm-hmm. So what was his reason? I mean, I think you should go on record because this is part of the commission.
Okay, so as he describes it, that's fair. That's fair. As he describes it, a number of years ago, like over 20, he had invited a group into York for an anti-racism event. And in the midst of that, he discovered they were really Antifa, and they created a big problem, and there was a lot of violence. And as a result, everybody in York doesn't like the word anti-racism because it's negative.
Negative for whom?
Everybody.
Somebody's knocking, is that?
So he's conflating anti-racism work with Antifa, anti-fascism.
He is. We went as far as to put a footnote in the resolution that literally defines anti-racism from Ibram X. Kendi and the definition of. So we spent a lot of time back and forth trying to come up with an alternative. At one point, I said, well, we can just put the definition of it in the text, which we did. And he goes, well, I'm going to give it to you in this paragraph. You need to give this to me in the next paragraph.
Give you what in the next paragraph?
A different terminology, not to use anti-racism more than one time.
That's what I was
Did
going
he
to,
give a suggestion of what word he
Yeah.
prefers?
Not that I can recall.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's one example. Anyway, so coming out of that, we are, there were a couple of basic edits that he made also as far as capital letters and things like that and basic grammar, which are helpful. The upside is that our committee is as committed as ever. And in conversations with the Commissioner Muldrow, as he comes forward, he is equally committed to the resolution. So at some point, we're not giving up on it. It is frustrating because we've been doing this since a year ago, September. And so we're not giving up. So we can still behave as if, right? Okay, any other questions? Okay. John, now we're doing 185. I switched you up. Okay, so here's the scoop with 185. What I've given you is not the full resolution. What I've given you is only those sections where we've made changes. Now, let me just do a quick review on why we're doing changes. Is it easier if I stand over there? You okay with me here? Okay. In 2014, we lost our connection with HUD. Prior to that, if we were able, we had a partnership with HUD, whereas when we saw cases and resolved them according to their criteria, we got reimbursed, which is great. They had money available for us, so we were able to help HRC without going to the city for all of the money that we needed. Okay, 2014, that partnership ended. And so we've sort of been, since I came aboard over a year and a half ago, we've been trying to get back in. I met with them last winter, early spring. at which point I gave them 185, and because they have to review your ordinance. It is the same ordinance that they had originally, but things change, and the gentleman I met with, their attorney, went through it. He goes, okay, so here are the places where they might have a little bit of an issue. So if you can go and clear up these issues, then there's a better chance that you'll pass straight through. So again, Brett has been working on this with me for a number of months, and we now have a document that's ready to go forward. It is my intention to make sure that you are all on board with what is in this document before I send it to council to look at and before I give it to the mayor. And I'm also meeting with HUD on Friday. I've sent them this document to make sure that we have met all of their expectations. I'm assuming that they will be okay with it because we went above and beyond, and I'll explain that in a minute, so that we can go forward. So I want us to be on board. I want HUD to be on board before I send it to the mayor and before I go to council to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, as they say. So with your permission, I'd like to go through the changes and explain them, and then also have an opportunity for conversation. Is that okay?
Yeah, just to be clear, are the lines that are crossed out the edits suggested by?
Yeah, yes and no. So what you have, the lines crossed out could either be indicative of things that came out, were changed, or moved. Okay? So I'll explain that as we go. The other important feature here that we added, that wasn't just an amendment based on what HUD requested, is we have included source of income. Do you all remember what source? Do I need to revisit that? Okay. So now source of income becomes a protected class, which is really critical because so many landlords are turning people down because of where their legal source of income comes from. Okay, so bear with me because I have the full document here, so I have to page through it. But I believe that page 97, 18504 is the first place where you will see a cross out. Basically, the thing here is the commission does not determine anything. This is something that is determined by the Secretary of Housing. And so we needed to take the commission out, even though it makes reference to the fact that the commission does it based on what we needed to take that out for clarity. So that's why the commission's been crossed out there. Okay? Okay, next page. If you look down to the section W, we had to be very specific as to what a personal residence is. Occupied by no more than 2 families living independently of each other if the owner actually maintains and occupies one of the living quarters as their residence. So many times we hear that it's a family residence, but the owner's not living there. And so that technically gives them the option to discriminate, but it doesn't if they're not in the place. So that's why that's crossed out there. That just eliminates where the exception is and lists it specifically in the paragraph above. We good? Okay. Next one, page 99, 18505. So one of the things here I noted is that there is sort of just an order. I'll start first by saying this. AB, where it says sexual orientation, and AD, where it says gender identification, should probably follow one another. So we'll make that correction. That's just an editorial correction, I think. But the new piece that's directly added to this is source of income. And that goes into great deal, means any lawful source of income made directly or indirectly on behalf of the renter or buyer of housing, including. And then it's including but not limited to. And I'm thinking that perhaps we should go back and add but not limited to. I'll ask Brett about that. Is that okay with you? Okay. Because while we're certainly listing a number, we don't want to give any sort of leeway to anybody who might say, yeah, but you didn't say this. So I'm going to ask her to add that if that's okay. Everybody in agreement? Okay, thank you. Okay, next page, next 2 pages, you're going to see a lot of cross out on B2, and then on the next side, number 4. They're not actually crossed out of the document, they're moved, because it makes more sense to have them later on the next page. So again, this is just about sort of putting housing with housing, et cetera, and making it flow a little bit better. So the sentence that says refuse to lend money or discriminate against, you will note that that is in section 11 and 12. And 10 has been crossed out there because it has been moved up to 7. And again, that's just for continuity in the document, not to change any context or content at all. Still good? Okay. So then we move on. Okay, give me a second. I believe we're on page 102L. Am I correct in that? Is that your next page? Okay. Okay, this is some clarification. HUD had requested, we sort of made it a practice, but it's not explicit in 185. The practice of offering mediation throughout a process. So we'll offer mediation when a complainant comes in saying, do you want us to make a call to this person right now and see if we can clear it up? If that doesn't work, then when we send out the complaint, they have to respond in 30 days, but we have added, if you are interested in mediation with the complainant, this is the date 2 weeks from now, okay? We then offer it again later on. As evidence is being presented, sometimes then the respondent is like, okay, now we want to go to mediation, okay? So all along the way, and HUD really has made that part of their policy. So we do that for everybody, all cases, but HUD really is explicit about wanting that for all cases with housing, that you always offer mediation with a landlord, with the tenant, with whomever is part of the whole process. So what you'll notice here is some clarification. The commission or its designee, we put that in because we want to be very clear that the commission is all of us. It's commissioners and it's our office, right? Because what you will note as we get down here, and I really clarified this with Brett, when we get down into G, 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, a conciliation agreement arising out of such conciliation shall be an agreement by the respondent and the complainant, and it shall be subject to approval by the commission versus the commissioners, okay? Now, there's a reason for that. One is timely, but the other is, as commissioners, you are not privy to what is going on unless we go to hearing. So if we're doing a mediation, we keep you objective until it's all closed up. And our office has done mediations, we've resolved mediations. If there's ever an issue, we can come to you, but at the end of the day, you have to remain neutral. So we had to be very clear. That being said, it also allows that if at some point the commissioners are the ones who are heading HRC, as you have been in the past, whoever the designated person is to act in the stead of a director now can also mediate and wrap it up. Does that make sense? Okay, questions? You good? Okay. So bumping over to the next page, you'll see J. If the commission, in its discretion, it is not in the commission's discretion. If the practices are unlawful, it's done. There is no discretion. There has been an illegal practice. That's the determination, not in the discretion of the commission. So that just got a little confusing for HUD, and they're like, no, if it's illegal, we're done. That's good. If you go to the next page, Some clarification in P. In cases involving a claim of discrimination, if a complainant evokes procedures set forth in this article, the right of the complainant to concurrently commence a civil action shall not be diminished. Okay? So it's just taking out right to action, and it says a civil action because it just allows it to be a little clearer by describing so long as a civil action is commenced within 2 years of the occurrence or the termination of alleged discriminatory practice. It clears up what that means, because before you'd read it and you're like, well, can I do that at the same time that I'm also involved with HRC? This clears it up and says, no, you can be involved in civil action and you can have this much time to take care of that. Good? All right. Finally, this is a big one. This one we added. This was not a HUD piece, this was ours. When you read our 185 as it stands right now, whoever violates any of the provisions of this article shall, upon conviction thereof, be fined not more than $500. Okay, that's nothing. And that was related only to a certain part of, and forgive me, I forgot to review this, a certain part of penalties. But when you go and you look at penalties for unlawful discrimination practices in HUD, and when you go to the EEOC, and when you go to help me, for disabilities.
ADA?
No, not ADA. Not Department of Aging, but we're really close. I just can't remember. They all have their own penalties based on discriminatory practices. So we put those in here. So because really an attorney could go, well, it says here you can only do $500. You're limited to $5 according to your own ordinance. That really ties our hands, because it means that we cannot give them what they're due. And it also means that the person who is asking for prayer of relief has a really good understanding of what they're entitled to based on the claim that they're making. So what you will notice under penalty are all of the amounts that follow HUD, that follow Health and Human Services, and that follow EEOC. And we've added that to our ordinance. It gives us more teeth. Questions? What do you think? I think especially in light of what I hate to say we might be seeing in the next whatever, having teeth at the very least gives us legal recourse. And because we are protected by the ordinance, we don't have to depend on a judge to make these decisions for us if we go to hearing. These are laid out, they're laid out by federal agencies that are still existing. And so as long as that's the case, it backs up and it gives our ordinance a little more power. So, Madam Chairperson, if I could ask you to call for a vote.
I'd like to call for a vote on the revisions requested on Article 185.
Do we have a second?
All opposed?
In favor?
I'm not opposing. Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Now we keep our fingers crossed, hope that HUD likes it. I think they will. And then after that, I have been in touch with Queen of Washington since we started this endeavor. And she has been very much in favor of source of income. So I anticipate that council will also see this as a good amendments, especially because, like I said, it gives us a little bit more punch. Okay. No, I switched them. Yeah, I switched it.
So, the next is old business, new business.
Staff?
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No worries.
I'll do the same.
Okay, first of all, I want to say that we finally had our CNA event at Martin Library on the 9th. So, I'm sorry?
Say what CNA is.
Oh, I'm sorry, the Coalition of Native and Allies event. And it was in collaboration with Martin Library and the Human Relations Commission. It was on Saturday, 9th of November, or November 9th. I want to say, unfortunately, Commissioner Edmondson is not here, but Jill was a very awesome hostess. She was, very accommodating to all of us and all our needs, and the ladies from the CNA, she was very attentive. The space was adequate. The continental breakfast type spread was perfect for people to just grab and sit and, walk around or stand. At one point, we had about 52 plus people in that reading room. So it was in the quiet reading room of the library. And it was amazing because we actually, the CNA ladies, they were actually worried because, they were only seeing like 7, 10. And Jill was actually, trying to, let them know, well, this is a good crowd for how much we get, in here. But suddenly it just got filled, and there's pictures. I posted the pictures today on Facebook, so you can actually see. It was awesome. Steady, we had about 40 people steady. We did get, I was at the door, so I got to interact with a lot of unhoused people. And they were first drawn, to the grab, the grabs of foods and, stuff like that. But then actually they got to listen to what was being said in the movie. And they actually, just grab a seat, they stayed. They even asked questions at the end. They put their own feedback, their own input. And I think it was eye-opening. It was awesome. A lot of people didn't know a lot of things and actually got a lot of knowledge. And to those who had knowledge, I think it just opened their eyes to even more knowledge on Native history. And they touched on other subjects as well. So I think it was quite awesome. I enjoyed it a lot. My daughter enjoyed it as well. So I think it was an awesome event. There was actually people talking about that we need to have more events like this. Events that actually teaches us about culture, but culture in the, I would say in the underground way, not the way that we usually see in public, but the hidden culture that is not spoken about. It's the taboo. I think York needs that. Overall, just, culture. I'm not saying specifically one type. I'm just saying things that have been hidden, they need to resurface in the sense of teaching and educate, because a lot of people need to be, having their eyes open. So that's my cue on the CNA event. On another note, we are trying to come up with a very strategic list of resources that we utilize ourselves here in the office, and we're just trying to make it in a way that we could take it to the public. clients of ours or just when we do outreach, and have them also help themselves with that resource list or help others. Because maybe they don't need the help, but if they can have that resource list and help another person in need, I think that would be awesome. And it will also try to spread the knowledge of not only HRC, but a whole lot of other resources that we have available to us. And that's my
That's good.
report.
You have anything you'd like to add? Okay. Okay. So, back to me. So I had put down upcoming training updates because we had talked about doing another training, and I have another one in my back pocket for you. But the other thing I want to be aware of is some other things that we need to think about. And I don't want to get into great detail tonight. I just want us to kind of put this forward because I think it'll help us determine when and how we're going to do updates. This may be a tough thing to decide since mine is not here. And I'll tell you what I mean. So one of the things that we talked about a while ago is whether or not we're going to continue meeting on a monthly basis. Mine has said, let's see it through the rest of the year, and then we'll talk about it. I don't need to talk about that now. I think you know I could fill the space no matter how many times we meet. But I just want to put it out there because that will eventually determine what those training dates would be. So that's why I'm just bringing it up. That'll be something that perhaps we talk about at our next meeting. The other things to consider that I want you to think about, we are going to have to start planning another diversity event. We have some ideas. I'm looking for volunteers, people who are interested, and then we can have a further conversation about that. You'll see the end of year reports in January. One of the things, again, this falls on Tamina. You all need to have a chair and a vice chair, and then also some renewal of appointments that have since ended, but you're still here and we want you to be here. So I'm going to leave that to her to talk with you. And then finally, we have already had our budget for the year. I should say, we've submitted a budget. It has yet to be approved. I'm not going to give you all of that until it is approved. I have asked for a whopping $400 more for next year's budget than last year. So it's not, but we'll have that conversation and I'll present the budget to you as soon as it's approved, which they're hoping to have done by the end of the year. That may or may not come forward in December. And so what I'm hoping to do is talk with Mina about how she wants to go forward on these topics. And that will determine whether or not December is something we go over this list, or do I give you another training? So I'm going to, you look like you're going to say something. Oh, okay. Is that okay? So we're just sort of in a holding pattern for next month. I just think we should have a great big party, but that's just me. And that's all I have. Any questions? Concerns?
No question, no concern, just praise. Thank you for all the work that you guys are doing. You are representing us out there, and give us that information. We can help you get the word out, and maybe we can fill up this room with comments from the community sometime soon.
You know, I'm glad you said that. I am hoping that this campaign that we're doing with the See Something, Say Something will have folks feel free and have a space where we're creating a space where they can come in and talk about things, or at least have their own concerns. So I agree with that. If we can get some other folks in here to build this as a safe space to do that, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Question, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I thought I guess I missed old business, new business, or is that,
Yeah, that's.
geez. When we had the training,
Yes.
there was a video. Did you send that out?
Oh, you know what? I did not. You wanted the microaggression, the mosquito bite one, right?
Yes, yes, if you
Okay.
could send that
My
out, please.
apologies. My
Yes.
apologies. Do you want the other one too, the one on implicit bias? It's okay.
You can send both.
Okay. I will absolutely send that to you. Thank you for the reminder.
And then, one other question.
Yes.
The next, so we're down one person on the board or two on the board?
So we are down, since Mr. Watkins is no longer attending, we have space for 9, correct? And we currently have 6,
7,
7.
yeah.
And does the next person have to come from inside the city or?
That's a good question. I don't
Outside.
know where we are on that. I don't know if we are, if the next person needs to be in city or county.
The one who deals with that is Mina.
Mina's going to know
Yeah,
that.
because she's
Yeah,
leadership
And
and,
we should know that if we try to recruit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. The other piece of the recruiting is also seeing who's missing at the table, as it were, from a representative perspective, and also to have a clear conversation about when we are recruiting, we need to be very clear with the folks who are coming on board, that they are on board with every single person that is listed in the protective class. And just to be clear that's, you know, that we come here willing to be protecting everyone who comes in. But I don't know the details of county or
yeah, that would be.
representation at this point. So, yeah.
I get adjournment. Call for adjournment of the meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you all very much.